Well, it's that time. We do it every week or so. Actually, it seems like every other week. Checking with Michael Snyder out on the left coast to see what's happening in movies. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Alex, and greetings from San Francisco. Bounced up here for a little bit, but that doesn't mean I'm not on the case. Things are well with you. We got some movies. Should we roll it?
Yeah.
In 2010, 3D animated, well, it was animated, whether it was 3D or not, depends on your eyesight. An animated film came from Universal Pictures, not noted for great computer animated stuff of late. It was called Despicable Me, and it was all about an inept guy who wanted to rule the world and all of his assistants, his minions. And I actually thought it was pretty damn good. Steve Carell did the voice work on it. It was directed or co-directed by a guy named Pierre Coffin, who did a lot of the kind of squeaky little voices of these creatures. And I don't know if you remember Al Cap's comic Little Abner. I guess you do. It featured a creature on occasion called the Shmoo. And the Shmoo was this little yellow guy or pale white guy. And I guess there was also the Jeep.
They really weren't guys. They were animals, and
they were creatures. Yeah,
yeah, and they were lovable, and they loved you, and you could eat them, and they were happy to have you do so.
Exactly, and then there was the Jeep, which was a creature from the Popeye comic strip and cartoons. And the minions, the assistants to Gru, are very much in that kind of spirit. They're incredibly helpful, but what they want to do is follow someone evil. They want to help the most despicable guys around. So the first movie in 2010, very funny. Shockingly enough, the 2013 sequel, Despicable Me 2, also funny. Pierre Coffin co-directed that as well. And now they decided to do an origin story. The Minions, as they're known, for some reason are breakout stars. Kids love them. And now we have Minions, the ridiculous and surprisingly amusing story of how they came about. And it starts back in the Stone Age and, actually even before the Stone Age and creeps all the way up to the 60s. There's a lot of time-oriented humor and jokes, like quasi-topical stuff from the era. There's a section of it set in the UK, in London, and swing in London. Scarlet Overkill is the first female supervillain back then, voiced by Sandra Bullock, and these creatures decide they're going to follow her. And in fact, three of these guys are sort of singled out. Kevin, who has the plan to find a mistress or master of evil, and his two idiot friends. I just thought it was fun and funny, shocked at enjoying it, I guess. And there was also voice work from Michael Keaton, Allison Janney, Steve Coogan, Jennifer Saunders, Jeffrey Rush. I mean, they didn't stint on that, and I thought Minions was good.
Yeah,
a really funny film for the family.
Yeah, it's not getting very good reviews, though. You're the first good review I've seen on it.
Well, I was shocked that I liked it. And I'll also probably be swimming against the tide on Selfless, which is in some ways, decent sci-fi movie that could have been better. I mean, this is a tense, kind of palpably emotional and thought-provoking movie about a very rich guy played by Ben Kingsley who's dying and decides to go undergo this procedure that will let him move his consciousness into a healthy body. And the healthy body is played by Ryan Reynolds. Now, I'd call it a variation on a book and subsequent movie entitled Seconds, which starred Rock Hudson from years ago. But there are a fairly clever series of different twists and some fine performances, and Reynolds is at the top of his game. There's also good supporting work in this thing from Matthew Good, Derek Luke, Victor Garber, and from Downton Abbey, Michelle Dockery, who plays the daughter of the Ben Kingsley character. It's directed by Tarsem Singh, who has a great visual flair. Again, it could have been better, but I had fun because it was kind of thought-provoking. It's science fiction is supposed to make you think, I believe, for the most part, and this did. Now, nowhere near as good as either of these films, regardless of whatever flaws there are there. The Gallows is like a boilerplate kind of horror film, because it's all about the accidental death during a small town high school play. And 20 years later, the students try to honor the anniversary of the play. and the tragedy by doing the same play. This is a real uh-oh situation, and it's a variation on the contemporary found footage horror formula that's predictable and a little tedious as you kind of wait for the dominoes to fall or the noose to tighten, the gallows. Cassidy Gifford's presence, that's right, of Cody and Cassidy, the children of Kathy Lee and Frank Gifford, is in this thing. I guess it's the only notable thing. And it made me want to see her real-life brother Cody in the film, so I get the vicarious thrill of watching both children of the Giffords get strung up on the big screen. Well, it's only a movie, a lame movie. Nonetheless, the gallows, you might as well avoid it. Boulevard is the last live-action feature film to star Robin Williams, and it's a kind of a dark and rather serious and rather draining and tedious film about a devoted husband who actually has a secret that he's been keeping from his wife of many, many years, and it's the fact that he's gay. And it all boils over when he meets a young hustler on the street and gets overly involved in that kid's life. And Kathy Baker plays the wife. Robin Williams is the husband. Bob Odenkirk, you know him very well from some of his television work, do you not? Bob Odenkirk is quite good. Better Call Saul star, as the buddy of the Robin Williams character. And Robin gives a good performance, but this is, we've been here before. This is soap operatic, melodramatic. The dialogue is a little stilted. I wish Boulevard had been a better film. Tangerine is actually pretty good considering how freaky-deaky it is. It's a drama that takes place on Christmas Eve in Tinseltown in Los Angeles with transgender hookers, pimps, their clients, friends, and adversaries. Two working girls, and I use the word girl advisedly, go on an odyssey through the various subcultures of Los Angeles, and they hang out in areas that I never thought were, kind of hooker central, but in fact are. And it's gritty and pretty funny and kind of poignant. It was directed by Sean Baker, who's kind of making a reputation doing these low-budget shoestring dramas, and this was pretty entertaining stuff. Tangerine, I don't believe it's for everybody, but I thought it was pretty well executed, and especially considering, whatever they had to do, the time and effort to do it. 10,000 Kilometers is one of the best films I've seen in the past month or two. Directed and written by a guy named Carlos Marquez Marcet. It's almost entirely in Spanish, even though it stars from Game of Thrones and other good films, Natalia Tena with Spanish actor David Verdaguer. And it's a couple who actually are in love and ready to make a kid, and she gets the break to go to Los Angeles on a grant and pursue her career as a photographer for a year. And this is what happens to the relationship as they try to stay a loving couple. And there's a lot of stuff on Skype, and there's the one long scene that establishes their relationship at the very beginning. It's a tracking shot, a single shot, and it's beautifully executed. And if you're patient with this film, the rewards are great. It's very beautifully done. I really thought 10,000 Kilometers was kind of awesome. And I want to wrap up here with the documentary Amy, which is kind of a must-see. It's like a brutal, scathing, heartbreaking documentary about the life and death of Amy Winehouse, the great and soulful British singer who came from kind of a drab middle-class background and found herself in the pop music maelstrom and basically taken advantage of, eaten alive by the wrong boyfriends, by a father who didn't really take his daughter's well-being into consideration, people drunk on fame, desperate for money. And she was a tremendous talent. And this movie, which is, again, very tragic, directed by Asif Kapadia, is absolutely worth checking out. It's a lot of performance footage, stuff of her in the studio, stuff with Tony Bennett. I really thought Amy was rocking good, buddy.
Girlfriend today wrote me a note and said, you want to go see Amy this weekend? And I said no. And here's the reason why I said no. This is the kind of film that's going to be on Netflix within 3 months. Why spend close to $75 to go to a movie when you can sit at home and watch it for your Netflix subscription?
Oh, that is true. That is absolutely
and this is
true.
not one of those films. I'm very particular about the movies I go to see in theaters. I'll go see Jurassic World in a theater. It's something you want to share with an audience. It's something you want on the big screen. A documentary like this, I just know it's going to wind up on Netflix within 3 months.
Well, you're right. And 10,000 Kilometers can also be watched at home. The best two films we talked about today will translate very well to home entertainment. Not to try to screw the theater people, but it's really true.
Why didn't, with this, Amy, didn't they go direct to pay TV or whatever, rather than waste their time with a movie theater?
Well, it's a good film, and I like seeing it on the big screen, but you don't have to see it on the big screen.
I've got a big screen.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, we never talked about Magic Mike XXL, and I was not that impressed.
No reason to, and I hear that the Terminator movie sucks.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, and I hear also that every movie I wanted to see sucked. Ted 2 sucked.
Yeah, not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here's one that you might want to see before we sign off. Do I Sound Gay? A documentary, I'm not kidding, about the gay voice, why people sound gay or may not sound gay. And, it was pretty funny and pretty telling. I want to say, written and directed by a guy named David Thorpe. And, of course, a lot of the usual suspects are in this, like David Sedaris and George Takei and Dan Savage and Tim Gunn. I'm telling you something. This was kind of cool. It'll probably be available on video, and I just wanted to give that a little shout out.
Yeah, but my main TV pleasure right now is Mr. Robot, which is coming out of USA Network. Have you seen it yet?
I have, and I also think it's fantastic as well. And wonderful lead performance, a tragic, awful, repellent, sad, funny performance by the lead actor, who was, I think, also in Nightcrawler. A guy named, his name escapes me, Malik something or other.
Yeah.
He is good.
It's a very good show. The third episode didn't kill me, but still, it's worth watching because it's different. It's really different.
Well, I think I agree with you, and I also, even though it's totally and utterly a guilty pleasure, I'm still loving the hell out of the sci-fi insanity of Wayward Pines. By the way, I'm remembering the guy's name. Mr. Robot stars Rami Malek, and also, hey, let's not forget Christian Slater is in it as well. Yeah. It's a good show. It obviously is a more important show.
The other guilty pleasure I'm having right now is Zoo, which oddly enough is pretty scary.
I didn't dip in. I've gone through the sort of stately grandeur of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which is right in my wheelhouse. Maybe, again, not for everybody, but I'm telling you, Mr. Robot, I agree with you completely. Yeah. That's kind of a must-see.
Yep. Okay, well, that's it. Tell them where they can find you and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's see. Twitter, at Culture Blaster, and over on Facebook, the Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page. Like it, dip into it, click on our little segments, and we'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Thank you very much, Michael. And I'm Alex Bennett, and Gabnet continues.